you, you know. And then when we saw what he was doing on his own, we thought, oh, well, I'm sorry for saying anything. You know, you can just do it all. We trust you. You know, he's actually quite amazing, this young guy. So we've got him working with us, and it's this kind of evolving thing. We'll probably end up doing maybe 2 or 3 parts to it. We do want to start off with like probably a 90-minute production, possibly 2 hours, maybe 90 minutes, maybe even an hour, if we can get it down that short, which is aimed at Joe Public. So we've got a film we can take to someone who is the most asleep person you're ever going to find, and he's going to wake up to the fact that maybe his attention is required to matters of state, that all is not well, and that the who's steering the ship of state might possibly not be steering it in the best of directions. You know, we might be sort of heading for the edge of the earth or something, you know, about to fall off one of the waterfalls. So that's what we're going to do with the first part of it anyway. A very, very mainstream approach to the first part. A lot of what both of us have done has been quite esoteric, like Ben with Chromatica, myself with things like The Awakening and The Calling. A lot of this has been quite conspiracy-based and quite esoteric. And so we're trying to get away from all of that for this first production and aim that at Joe Public. And then for later productions, because we've just got so much footage here, and so much really good footage, that we might end up doing another thing that's more conscious-based as well. I can't see even the first one being out before probably March or April next year, though, in all honesty, because there's an awful lot of footage to go through, and we've still got an awful lot of work to do on it. So I think it's going to take a little time, but as I said, the first one's going to be very mainstream, so it'll be very different to anything either of us have done, because it's no good always preaching to the choir. It's all very good to make films for people who are already awake and give them little different ideas and more information on how to improve themselves and how to have a little bit more understanding of things, but it still doesn't help wake up that collective consciousness. And I think that's what we really need to do. So that's what we're sort of aiming at with the first one anyway.
And it's quite interesting that you've mentioned that after you're done with the first production, which will be, for the general public, that you want to do something else, which will be more for the people who are not considered really being part of general public in terms of their consciousness. Because I know about, and we spoke with Miriam about this a little bit briefly, that there is starting to be, there's a certain kind of like a mood between the projects, that we're talking about to, create some media documentary or something like that about, this thing that we call the real unity, or however we want to call it, and really address different projects and people around the world on a common base to really start working together and provide platforms and opportunities for those projects to come together. And so I know that you're working on something quite similar as regards to what Truebook is doing and what the Great Gathering is doing. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's basically going to be software that is incorporated into a website, and the website will basically work almost like a game, and it's basically aimed at linking up the haves with the needs, or the haves with the wants, the haves with the have-nots. You might have people who have a particular skill, but they've got nowhere with which to operate that skill. You might have someone who has everything that this person needs, but doesn't know how to go about it. So you might be able to get these people to work together. And it's about bringing people together. You might have land, but you can't work the land. You might have someone else who wants to work land but doesn't have any land. Well, you can come here and we can maybe work something out together, It's about linking people globally. You might be traveling somewhere overseas. You want to go and work on a permaculture farm, so you can look at this database and you can find what's there. You might be traveling somewhere and might want to work as a motorbike mechanic. Whatever, you'll find the link there, so there'll be someone in that country you're going to who needs a motorbike mechanic, or whatever, So whatever it is, just ways of linking the community up, so we can do it without basically trying to eliminate government from the equation, and bring it all back to community. And as I said with the film there as well, we need to do that and try to help people become conscious and get people on these type of initiatives, because it becomes very, you've got to be very careful when you're a filmmaker and you're doing things like what I'm doing, like what Ben's doing. You suddenly, because you start making these things and you think, oh, I wonder if anyone's actually watching this. And you find out that thousands, millions of people actually are, and they're listening to what you're saying. And people that get into this conspiracy culture, it begins to become like it's almost like a movie for them. They're waiting for the next installment. So they're depending on you to give them their fix for the next installment. And they're failing to act because they keep waiting for the next installment. You know, and this guy's going to save me, Ben Stewart's going to save me, or Max Igan's going to save me. He's going to release a film that's got all the answers. I don't have to act myself. And I really like this movie. It's really exciting. Where's the next installment? So you've got to be very careful as a filmmaker that you don't fall into that trap as well. You've got to try to provide people with solutions that they can implement into their own lives, and that's what we're trying to do with this Link Up website. And that's why I was so excited hearing from Miriam, because she's doing something which is virtually the same, and she's doing it about gatherings and events and things like this that are happening all around the world that we can all link up together. So we can link all of this stuff up together with what you're doing, with what Miriam's doing, with what I'm doing, with what Ben's doing with the Hangman Project. We can link all of these things together and create this huge global network, which will eventually leave the internet and become this self-sustaining organism. I mean, it's like what we've created here is almost a new life form. It's an energetic life form that now has its own being, and it's just manifesting and manifesting and manifesting, and it's spreading out on this global scale. And what I say to people when they ask me why I do what I'm doing, what is my goal, I say my goal is to make myself obsolete, so that what my message just carries out, and eventually I'm not needed to give this message to people. People will have the message, and they'll be doing it in their own communities. That's planned obsolescence. That's my job for me.
Yeah, I feel very much the same thing, and we have actually discussed this with Miriam yesterday, that humility and being humble is one of the very important things we need to relearn, because I do believe we all have that inside of us. We're just not allowing that to be our experience, because that is one of the things that can really help us to achieve a real unity, where we look at things that are uniting us, even with the people that may have disagreed with our perceptions of how the world operates, but there are still many common things we can work under. And it's really interesting that all these projects, including your project and including Miriam's project and Truebook project and just many others, are coming together, and that the people within this group really do understand that that this is not about Agape or Max or Miriam or whoever, that this is just really about bringing the people together and showing them, as you said, that they need to act upon themselves, that they cannot wait for Ben to release a new movie or for Miriam to do some new interview where she'll give some information, etc., but that they really have to start working together where they are, and also globally with other people and organizations, in order to get this change happening. So Max, do you believe that we can achieve this given the current state of human consciousness? Do you think like this is something that actually can be done globally, so that we see the implication on a big enough scale that the collective consciousness will follow up?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I think that we will do it. I think we've done it. This was done. I think that we have a wonderful opportunity with all of this, and I really think that we will do it with enough people in the right mindset on board, non-violent, non-compliance, simply building community, putting common unity back in community. That's all it will take. Simply growing up. We have to finally grow up and realize that we don't need parents. That's all it will take. And I believe we do it. I believe that we will do it. I believe that we have every opportunity right here at our fingertips. it may be close. It may be close. It may get a lot worse yet. In fact, I have every confidence that it will.
Oh.
But I still believe that we will pull through in the end. And I think this is simply how it happens. But we have to embrace it now. We have to take the bull by the horns. We really have to build community now, because that's the only way we're going to do it, is through community. We have to build strong community. And it has to be a global community. And that's what we have to do. So, yeah, I love what you're doing. It's great to have you on board, and it's great that all these people are just connected with each other, and we're all on the same page, and we're all working towards a common goal. And I think that between us, we're an unstoppable force. I really do.
Yeah, that's great that we're actually seeing all this happen. So, Max, we have about 10 minutes left. Is there something you would like to leave our listeners with before we go?
Well, really just what I've been saying about how all of the problems that we face are simply symptoms. There really is only one problem, and on the deepest level of analysing that one problem is ourselves. That one problem is our acquiescence to the corruption that currently runs our planet. We need to address this. We really do. We can build all the alternate communities that we want, but until
All right, seems like we have just lost Max in there. I'll call him right back, so just stand by. I'm calling him right now as we speak. Okay, Max's Skype is actually showing me that he's offline, so I will give it a few minutes and we'll see if he's coming. And meanwhile, while we're waiting for Max, you can listen to this beautiful speech by Abraham Hicks by Mr. Hicks.
There is a plethora of powerful counselors and teachers who have been attempting to get people to be round pegs in square holes, who know the futility of that. In other words, your world is ripe for this understanding. It is ripe for this understanding. So as you know it and hold it and set forth your intention to attract those who know it too, there will be a gathering of counselors and teachers and a movement of allowing the likes of which this planet is not seen yet. In other words, this is the time of awakening. And what that means is waking up to who you are, not waking up.
Okay, we got Max back on the show. I'm apologizing for the technical difficulties, but sometimes the internet is just a very hard thing to work around. So, Max, you can continue with your ending message.
Oh, where was I, Agave?
You were just wrapping up. I asked you, what would you like to leave the people with before we go? And you're just basically recapping throughout the show.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure where I was, but all of the problems that we face, folks, they're all due to our acquiescence to the corruption at the top of our society. So we need to build community. We really do. That's our only way to get through what we face. And as soon as we can do that, then we can literally change the world. Now, if you've got anything extra in your house, if you've got an old bed or an old cupboard or something that you don't want, instead of selling it, give it away. Give it away to people who might need it. And it's better than the money, it really is, because if you're ever in a position of need, people will remember that you gave to them, that you helped them, and they'll be more likely to give back to you and to help you. All of the problems that we face, the only way we're going to address any of it is through community. One person can't stand up against the system. And the system's broken, folks. It's totally corrupt. It doesn't work at all. There's no way we can even using the change the system. It's been designed to never allow that to happen. But it doesn't work anymore. So what does work is community. What does work is people. So that's what you have to do. You've really got to build community, put in gardens, and help those around you. Realize that there's no division. There's no division amongst anybody. all the trinkets and social status and all the stuff that we collect, it's meaningless.